Picture this. You swing open your front door after a quick trip to the store, expecting to find your daughter sketching in the backyard, her laughter filling the air. Instead, you see her chained to a fence, dangling like a prisoner in some twisted tale, her face streaked with tears. Your heart stops, your blood boils, and there, smirking like she's just won a crown, stands the neighborhood's self-appointed overlord, basking in her cruelty. That's the nightmare I, Ethan Carter, walked into when I found my daughter, Sophie, at the mercy of our street's tyrant, Deborah, the queen of our quiet Atlanta suburb. Stick around, because I turned this horror into a calculated, legal takedown that left her empire in ruins. I'm a 42-year-old single dad, a former tech guy who ditched the 9 to 5 for freelance coding to be there for Sophie, my 12-year-old spark of a daughter. Sophie's my everything, her sharp wit, her infectious giggle, and her paintings that could make a gallery weep. She uses a wheelchair due to a mobility condition, but her spirit? Unbreakable, fiercer than a storm. 6 months ago, we moved to this postcard-perfect neighborhood in outer Atlanta, chasing a dream of good schools, calm streets, and maybe a friendly face or two. We got the first 2, but the third? That's where Deborah comes in. This place looks like it's straight out of a feel-good movie. Neat lawns, kids on bikes, white picket fences. But beneath the polish, it's a pressure cooker, and Deborah's the one turning up the heat. At 55, she's the head of the so-called Neighborhood Council, a one-woman dictatorship armed with a clipboard and a perm so stiff it could deflect bullets. She's the type to measure your grass with a ruler and slip a typed violation notice under your door if it's a hair too long. To her, every mailbox shade, every curtain fold, every blade of grass is a battlefield, and she's the general, ready to crush dissent in her floral cardigan. From day one, Deborah had us in her sights. Our first week, I got a letter in official council letterhead, no less claiming Sophie's wheelchair was defacing the sidewalk. Defacing, like my kid was tagging it with spray paint. I brushed it off, thinking it was a fluke. Then Deborah showed up, her clipboard quivering with rage, demanding I repaint our garage door because its teal was unapproved. I'm no doormat, but we were new, and Sophie was still settling in, so I nodded, smiled, and said I'd look into it. Big mistake. That was my first lesson about Deborah. Giving in only makes her hungrier. Her campaign escalated. She'd patrol our street like a warden, her sneakers squeaking, her eyes hunting for infractions. She'd peer into our yard, scribbling notes like she was building a case for the CIA. Once, I caught her sniffing our trash can to check if we'd sorted our recyclables right. I kept my cool, mostly for Sophie, who'd already faced enough stares at school. She didn't need drama at home. But Deborah wasn't just irritating. She was relentless. Our mailbox was too reflective. Our garden statues were tacky. Our doormat wasn't inviting enough. I started calling her the neighborhood Nazi in private. And trust me, the name stuck. The real trouble kicked off with our backyard fancy, a plain wooden thing, 6 feet tall, perfect for keeping Sophie's art supplies from drifting into the neighbor's yard. Deborah decided it was her personal crusade. One scorching August afternoon, she stormed up to my porch, face redder than a sunburn, and slapped a citation on my door. The crime? Our fence was 1 inch taller than the council's sacred limit. 1 inch. I explained I'd fix it when I could, juggling work, Sophie's therapy, and doctor visits. Rules are rules, Mr. Carter, she snapped, her voice using fake sympathy. Noncompliance has consequences. I thought she meant a fine. I was dead wrong. Deborah's attacks turned personal. She'd linger outside, snapping photos of Sophie sketching in the front yard, muttering about property value threats. She'd corner me at the mailbox, her perfumey a mix of lavender and malice joking the air as she lectured me on community standards. I was simmering, but I held it together. Then Sophie noticed. "Dad, why's that lady so mean?" she asked one night, her voice tiny. I hugged her and said, "Some people crave control, kiddo. We'll handle it." But I had no plan yet. Then came the day that broke me. I'd stepped out for groceries, leaving Sophie in the backyard with her sketchbook, the breeze ruffling her hair as she drew birds. I was gone 30 minutes. When I pulled into the driveway, I heard her soft, terrified sobs that hit me like a brick. I sprinted to the backyard and froze. There was Sophie, my fearless girl, chained to the fence, a rusty chain looped around her waist, her body hoisted just high enough that her toes grazed the dirt. Her wheelchair lay tipped in the grass, her sketchbook crumpled. And there stood Deborah, arms crossed, smirking like she'd caught a thief. "This is what happens when you ignore the rules," she barked. Every instinct screamed to rip that chain off and let Deborah feel my rage. But Sophie's wide, scared eyes locked on mine, and I knew I had to stay calm for her. I freed her, whispering, "You're safe, sweetheart," as I held her close. Deborah had the audacity to keep ranting about fence violations. I turned to her, voice low and lethal, "Get off my property. Now." She huffed and waddled off, her sneakers squeaking. That night, I held Sophie until she slept, her ruined bird drawing clutch to her chest. I was done. Deborah wasn't just a bully, she was a monster, and I'd make her pay. I started with evidence. I'd installed security cameras after Deborah's Facebook stunt, where she posted a video of Sophie painting, captioning it, "Wheelchairs ruin our lawns." The comments were vile, and Sophie saw them before I could shield her. "Dad, am I a problem?" she asked, and it gutted me. Those cameras became my weapon. They caught Deborah sneaking into our yard at dawn, measuring our fence, poking our flower beds, and get this dumping rotting fruit to frame me for a violation. Then, the jackpot. Crystal clear footage of her chaining Sophie, her voice snarling about rules. I showed the videos to Rosa, our neighbor who makes killer empanadas and had her own Deborah horror stories, and Greg, a lawyer who'd tangled with her before. Rosa gasped, "She's unhinged. She trashed my herb garden last year." Greg nodded grimly. "That's trespassing, maybe assault. But we need a plan to nail her." I called my old college buddy, Nate, a retired FBI agent who traded badges for golf clubs but still had a nose for trouble. I sent him the footage, and he whistled. "Ethan, chaining a kid? That's false imprisonment, maybe worse. Don't rush to court, she'll play victim. Hit her ego. Expose her." The plan hit me like lightning. A fake charity event, a trap Deborah couldn't resist. I pitched it to Rosa and Greg over coffee. "We host a fundraiser for kids with disabilities," I said. "We invite everyone, make it irresistible, and when Deborah shows up to preen, we show the footage." Rosa grinned. "You gonna whack her with the fence?" I laughed. "No, Rose evidence." Greg warned, "It's risky, but legal if you play it right." We planned a community park event with balloons, a big screen, and Rosa's empanadas. I even fixed the fence to Deborah's specs to throw her off. I spread flyers, skipping her mailbox so she'd think she discovered it. Sure enough, she cornered me at the store, clipboard in hand. "I'll ensure your little event meets standards, Mr. Carter." I hid a smirk. "Wouldn't dream of it without you." The fundraiser buzzed with life-ids with balloons, neighbors laughing, Sophie painting mini canvases in her blue dress. Deborah strutted in, her floral dress a crime against taste, already filming for violations. I took the podium, heart-pounding, and gave a sappy speech about supporting kids like Sophie. The crowd ate it up, clapping, some tearing up. Deborah filmed, probably plotting to fine me for unapproved decorations. Then I struck. "I want to share a story about our community's watcher," I said, and hit play. The screen lit up with Deborah's face sneaking into my yard, dumping trash, then chaining Sophie, her voice barking, "This is what happens when you ignore the rules." The park went silent, like the air had been sucked out. Deborah's phone dropped, her face ghostly. Gasps turned to shouts. Rosa yelled, "You chained a child." Greg's lawyer friend muttered about felonies. Neighbors, long silenced by Deborah's reign, spilled their own stories, fines for flower pots, threats over kids' chalk. Deborah tried to flee, but the crowd closed in, not with fists but with fury. I took the mic, calm as ice. "This is for kids like Sophie, Deborah kids you try to crush. Let's show what a real community does." The crowd roared. Deborah bolted, tripping over a balloon string, her sneakers squeaking into oblivion. The footage went viral, leaked to a news station. By Monday, she faced charges for false imprisonment and trespassing. A week later, she showed up at my door, eyes swollen, mumbling an apology and handing me a $10,000 restitution check. I took it and shut the door. That money built Sophie a wheelchair-accessible garden, where she now grows sunflowers. The neighborhood council ousted Deborah, electing Rosa, who scrapped every petty rule. The street feels alive again: barbecues, art shows, no more violation notices. A month later, I sat with Sophie in that garden, her painting a bird soaring free. "Dad," she grinned, paint on her cheek. "Next time, I'm painting her mailbox neon." I laughed, my pride for her fierce. Deborah thought fear gave her power, but it crumbled under truth. We didn't just topple her, we built something stronger. So, what's your story? Ever face a tyrant like Deborah? Share it, because together, we can show every bully they can't win.